Maya Rodriguez pulled her old backpack over her shoulder and stared at the big brick building in front of her. Lincoln High School looked just like every other school she had been to in the past few years. Same tall windows, same metal doors, same groups of students hanging around outside before the first bell rang. She took a deep breath and walked toward the entrance. The rain had stopped, but everything still looked wet and gray. Maya's sneakers squeaked a little on the wet sidewalk as she made her way through the crowd of teenagers. Nobody looked at her, nobody said hello, that was normal. She was used to being invisible on her first day. Maya's father had gotten another job transfer 3 weeks ago. This time they moved from Texas to Michigan. She didn't complain anymore when they had to pack up and leave. What was the point? Her dad was in the military, and military families moved around a lot. Maya had been to 6 different schools since she was 12 years old. She was now 16, and this was school number 7. The hallways inside Lincoln High were crowded and noisy. Students rushed past her, talking and laughing with their friends. Maya looked at the paper in her hand with her locker number written on it. Locker 247. She walked down the long hallway looking at the numbers on each locker door. 235, 240, 245, and finally 247. Maya tried the combination 3 times before the locker finally opened. She put her extra books inside and kept only what she needed for her first class, English with Mrs. Peterson in room 104. Maya looked at her schedule again and tried to figure out where room 104 was located. A girl with blonde hair walked past her. Maya thought about asking for directions, but the girl was already gone. Maya decided to find the room herself. She had gotten lost in new schools before. It always worked out in the end. Maya found room 104 just as the bell rang. She walked in quietly and sat in an empty seat near the back. Mrs. Peterson was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and gray hair. She smiled at Maya when she saw her. "Class, we have a new student today," Mrs. Peterson announced. "Maya Rodriguez has joined our class. Maya, would you like to tell us where you moved from?" Maya stood up slowly. She felt every pair of eyes in the room looking at her. "I moved here from Texas," she said in a quiet voice. "My father got transferred for work." "What kind of work does your father do?" Mrs. Peterson asked. "He's in the military," Maya replied. She sat down quickly, hoping the attention would move away from her. Some students whispered to each other. Maya heard one boy say, "Another military kid. They never stay long anyway." She pretended not to hear him, but the words still hurt a little. It was true, though. Military kids like her usually moved away within a year or 2. The rest of English class was about a book Maya had already read at her previous school. She listened quietly and took notes, even though she already knew the story. Math class was next, and Maya found it easily. The teacher, Mr. Johnson, didn't ask her to introduce herself. Maya was grateful for that. When lunchtime came, Maya felt nervous. Lunch was always the hardest part of the first day at a new school. She bought a sandwich and a bottle of water from the cafeteria line. Then she looked around the big room, trying to find somewhere to sit. Most tables were full of students who already knew each other. They talked and laughed together like they had been friends for years. Maya spotted an empty table in the corner and walked over to it. She sat down by herself and unwrapped her sandwich. While she ate, Maya watched the other students. There was a table full of kids wearing sports jerseys. They were probably on the football team or basketball team. Another table had students with paint on their clothes, likely from art class. Maya noticed a group of students who dressed in all black and sat together quietly. Then Maya saw them. 4 students sitting at a table near the center of the cafeteria. They were loud and seemed to think they owned the whole room. Other students either tried to sit near them or stayed far away from them. Maya could tell right away that these 4 were the popular kids who probably caused trouble for others. The group was led by a tall boy with brown hair and muscles that showed he worked out a lot. Next to him sat a girl with long red hair and expensive clothes. Maya watched as other students walked past their table. Some students said hello nervously, while others just kept their heads down and walked faster. Maya had seen groups like this at every school she attended. There were always students who thought they were better than everyone else. They usually picked on kids who were different or quiet. Maya had learned to stay away from groups like that. She finished her sandwich and pulled out a book to read. Reading during lunch helped pass the time and made her look busy. Maya didn't want anyone to think she was lonely, even though she kind of was. Making friends at a new school took time, and Maya never knew how long she would be staying. The book was about a girl who could do magic, but had to keep it secret from everyone around her. Maya liked stories about people who were different but had to hide who they really were. Sometimes she felt like she had secrets too, but her secrets weren't about magic. The lunch bell rang, and Maya packed up her book. She had 3 more classes to get through before she could go home. Science, history, and gym class. Maya hoped gym would be okay. Sometimes the gym teachers made new students participate in games where they didn't know the rules yet. Science class went well. The teacher, Ms. Garcia, was nice and explained that they were starting a new chapter next week. Maya would be able to start fresh with everyone else. History was boring, but Maya was used to boring classes. The teacher talked about wars and dates while most students looked sleepy. Finally, it was time for gym class. Maya changed into her gym clothes in the locker room. The other girls talked to each other about weekend plans and boys they liked. Maya changed quietly and didn't join their conversations. The gym teacher made everyone run around the track for 10 minutes. Maya was a good runner, but she didn't try to run faster than anyone else. She just wanted to blend in and not draw attention to herself. After running, they played volleyball and Maya's team lost, but nobody seemed to care much. When the final bell rang, Maya felt relieved. She had made it through her first day at Lincoln High School. She walked to her locker to get her books for homework. As she organized her backpack, Maya thought about calling her dad to tell him how the day went. He always asked about her first day at new schools. Maya walked toward the exit, ready to catch the bus home. She didn't notice the 4 students from lunch watching her as she passed by their table in the cafeteria earlier. She didn't see them whispering to each other and pointing in her direction. Maya had no idea that tomorrow would be very different from today. Maya's second day at Lincoln High School started just like the first one. She walked through the front doors with her old backpack and tried to remember where all her classes were located. The hallways were full of students talking and laughing with their friends. Maya walked quietly to her locker and got her books for first period. During English class, Maya sat in the same seat near the back. Mrs. Peterson was talking about the book they were reading, and Maya listened carefully. She had read this book before, but she didn't want to seem like a know-it-all by answering all the questions. A boy named Kevin sat next to her. He had messy black hair and wore glasses that were too big for his face. During the middle of class, he dropped his pencil and it rolled under Maya's desk. When she picked it up and handed it back to him, he smiled and whispered, "Thanks. You're the new girl, right?" Maya nodded and whispered back, "Yes, I'm Maya." "I'm Kevin," he said quietly. "If you need help finding anything, just ask me. I've been going to this school since kindergarten." Maya smiled a little. Kevin seemed nice, and it was good to know at least one person was friendly. Maybe making friends here wouldn't be as hard as she thought. Math class was next, and Maya found the room easily this time. She was starting to learn her way around the school. The teacher gave them a worksheet to complete, and Maya finished it quickly. Math had always been easy for her. She spent the rest of class time looking out the window and thinking about her old school in Texas. When lunchtime arrived, Maya bought the same sandwich as yesterday and looked for somewhere to sit. She saw Kevin sitting alone at a small table near the windows. He waved at her and Maya walked over to join him. "Mind if I sit here?" Maya asked. "Of course not," Kevin said with a big smile. "I usually sit alone, so this is nice." Maya sat down and unwrapped her sandwich. Kevin had brought lunch from home in a brown paper bag. He had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, an apple, and some cookies that looked like his mom had made them. "So, where did you move from?" Kevin asked between bites of his sandwich. "Texas," Maya replied. "My dad got transferred here for work." "What kind of work does he do?" "He's in the military," Maya said. She was used to this question by now. Kevin's eyes got wide. "That's cool. Do you move around a lot?" Yeah, this is my 7th school, Maya admitted. We usually stay somewhere for about 2 years, sometimes less. Wow, that must be hard, Kevin said. I can't imagine starting over at new schools all the time. Maya was about to answer when she noticed Kevin's face change. He was looking at something behind her, and he looked scared. Maya turned around to see what he was looking at. The 4 students from yesterday were walking toward their table. The tall boy with brown hair was in front, and the girl with red hair was right next to him. Behind them were another boy and girl that Maya had seen sitting with them yesterday. Maya's stomach felt tight. She had hoped to avoid these students, but it looked like they were coming to find her. Kevin looked like he wanted to hide under the table. "Hey, new girl," the tall boy said when he reached their table. His voice was loud enough that other students nearby stopped talking and started watching. "I'm Brad Collins, and this is my girlfriend Ashley Stone." Maya looked up at them but didn't say anything. She had learned that sometimes it was better to stay quiet when bullies were trying to start trouble. Ashley stepped closer to Maya. She was wearing expensive clothes and had perfect makeup, but her eyes looked mean. "We heard you're another military brat who won't be here very long," Ashley said with a nasty smile. "That's right," said the other boy, who had blonde hair and was almost as tall as Brad. "I'm Tyler King, and this is Megan Ross." He pointed to the other girl who had short brown hair and was chewing gum loudly. Maya still didn't say anything. She just looked at them calmly and waited to see what they wanted. "Cat got your tongue?" Ashley asked, laughing. "Or are you just too scared to talk to us?" Kevin started to stand up, but Maya put her hand on his arm to tell him to stay seated. She didn't want Kevin to get in trouble because of her. "I'm not scared," Maya said quietly. "I just don't see any reason to talk to you." Brad's face got red. "Did you just disrespect my girlfriend?" he asked, stepping closer to Maya. "I didn't disrespect anyone," Maya replied, still speaking in a calm voice. "I just want to eat my lunch in peace." Other students in the cafeteria were watching now. Some of them had their phones out and looked like they might start recording. Maya noticed that no teachers were around. The lunch supervisors were busy at the other end of the cafeteria. Ashley laughed again, but it wasn't a nice laugh. "Listen, new girl. There are rules here at Lincoln High, and one of those rules is that you show respect to people who have been here longer than you." "What kind of respect are you talking about?" Maya asked. "First, you apologize to Brad for being rude to him yesterday," Ashley said. "Then you find somewhere else to sit. This section of the cafeteria is for students who actually matter at this school." Maya remembered bumping into Brad yesterday when she was leaving class. She had said she was sorry, but apparently that wasn't enough for him. "I already apologized yesterday," Maya said. "And I don't think you own this part of the cafeteria." Tyler stepped forward. "Maybe you don't understand how things work here," he said. "Ashley and Brad run this school, what they say goes." Kevin looked terrified, but he found his voice. "Come on, guys, she's new, just leave her alone." Megan laughed at Kevin. "Nobody asked you, Four Eyes. Maybe you need to learn some respect, too." Maya stood up slowly. She was not as tall as Brad or Tyler, but she looked directly at them without showing any fear. "I think we're done here," she said. "Kevin and I are going to finish our lunch, and then we're going to leave. You can go back to your table now." Ashley's face turned red with anger. "Did this little nobody just tell us what to do?" she asked Brad. Brad cracked his knuckles. "I think she did. Maybe we need to teach her a lesson about respect." The circle of watching students got bigger. More phones came out, and Maya could hear people whispering excitedly. Everyone seemed to know that something big was about to happen. Maya stayed calm, but inside she was preparing herself. She had hoped to avoid this situation, but it looked like these 4 students weren't going to leave her alone. Maya had dealt with bullies before at other schools. She knew that sometimes the only way to stop them was to stand up to them. "Last chance, new girl," Ashley said, stepping even closer to Maya. "Apologize to Brad, promise to stay away from us, and maybe we'll let this slide." Maya looked at Ashley, then at Brad, Tyler, and Megan. She could see that they were used to other students being afraid of them. They expected her to back down and do whatever they told her to do. "No," Maya said simply. The word hung in the air like a challenge. The watching students got quieter, waiting to see what would happen next. Kevin grabbed Maya's arm, trying to pull her away from the table. "We should just go," Kevin whispered urgently. But Maya knew it was too late for that. These 4 bullies had decided to make her their target, and running away would only make things worse. If she backed down now, they would never leave her alone. Brad stepped forward until he was standing right in front of Maya. "What did you say?" he asked in a threatening voice. Maya looked up at him without blinking. "I said no." The cafeteria went completely quiet. Every student was watching Maya and Brad face each other. Some students held their phones up, ready to record whatever happened next. Maya could feel her heart beating faster, but she kept her face calm and looked straight at Brad. Brad's hands turned into fists. "Nobody says no to me at this school," he said through his teeth. "Maybe you need to learn that the hard way." Ashley moved to stand next to Brad. Her face was red with anger and her eyes looked mean and cold. "I can't believe this little nobody thinks she can talk to us like that," she said loudly. "Someone needs to put her in her place." Tyler and Megan moved to stand behind Maya, blocking her path to the exit. Maya noticed that they were trying to surround her, but she didn't look scared. Kevin was still sitting at the table, his face white with fear. "Please, Maya," Kevin whispered. "Just say you're sorry. It's not worth getting hurt over." But Maya had made up her mind. She had moved to 7 different schools, and at every single one there were bullies just like these 4. They picked on quiet kids, new kids, and anyone who seemed different. Maya was tired of bullies thinking they could control other people with fear. "I'm not going to apologize," Maya said clearly. "I didn't do anything wrong." Ashley stepped closer to Maya until their faces were only a few inches apart. "You think you're tough, don't you?" Ashley said with a nasty smile. "Let me tell you something, new girl. I've been the queen of this school since freshman year. Every girl here knows not to mess with me." "I'm not trying to mess with you," Maya replied calmly. "I just want to eat lunch with my friend and be left alone." "Too bad," Ashley said. "You chose to disrespect my boyfriend, and now you're going to pay for it." The crowd of watching students grew bigger. Maya could see that some kids looked excited like they were watching a movie. Others looked worried, especially some of the younger students who probably knew what it felt like to be picked on by Brad and Ashley. Maya noticed that still no teachers were around. The lunch supervisors were at the other end of the cafeteria, dealing with some spilled food. It was just Maya against 4 bullies with dozens of students watching and recording. "Here's what's going to happen," Ashley continued, her voice getting louder so everyone could hear. "You're going to get on your knees and apologize to Brad. Then you're going to promise never to sit in this section of the cafeteria again. And if you ever speak to any of us again, you'll regret it." Maya shook her head slowly. "I'm not doing any of that." Brad stepped forward again, trying to use his height to scare Maya. "Maybe you don't understand," he said. "We run this school. When we tell someone to do something, they do it. No questions asked." "That's right," Tyler added from behind Maya. "Ask anyone here. Nobody messes with us and gets away with it." Megan was still chewing her gum loudly. "This is going to be fun," she said with a mean laugh. "I love it when new kids think they're brave." Maya looked around at all the faces watching her. She saw fear in some eyes, excitement in others, and worry in a few, but she didn't see any adults coming to help her. Maya realized she was on her own, just like she had been at other schools. "Last chance," Ashley said, raising her voice so the whole cafeteria could hear. "Get on your knees and apologize or face the consequences." Maya stood perfectly still and looked directly at Ashley. "No," she said again, this time louder so everyone could hear her. Ashley's face turned bright red with rage. She had never had a student refuse to do what she said, especially not a quiet new girl who should have been easy to intimidate. Ashley was used to getting her way through fear and threats. "Fine," Ashley said, her voice shaking with anger. "You want to do this the hard way? Then that's what we'll do." Ashley raised her right hand high in the air, making sure everyone could see what she was about to do. The watching students gasped and some took steps backward. Everyone knew that. Ashley was about to slap Maya across the face as hard as she could. "This is what happens to people who don't know their place," Ashley announced to the crowd. "Let this be a lesson to all of you." Maya saw Ashley's hand coming toward her face. Time seemed to slow down as Ashley's palm moved through the air, aimed directly at Maya's left cheek. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the loud sound of the slap that would echo through the cafeteria. But the slap never came. Just as Ashley's hand was about to hit her face, Maya moved faster than anyone expected. Her right hand shot up and caught Ashley's wrist in the air, stopping the slap completely. Maya's grip was strong, much stronger than anyone would have guessed from looking at her small frame. Ashley's eyes went wide with shock. She tried to pull her hand free, but Maya's grip was like iron. Ashley had never been stopped like this before. She was used to other students being too scared or too slow to fight back. "Let go of me," Ashley screamed, trying to twist her arm away from Maya. But Maya held on tight. Her face was still calm, but now there was something different in her eyes. They were focused and alert in a way that made even Brad take a step backward. "You tried to hit me," Maya said quietly, but her voice carried clearly through the silent cafeteria. "I tried to avoid this, but you wouldn't listen." Maya's grip on Ashley's wrist tightened slightly and Ashley winced in pain. "Ow, you're hurting me. Brad, do something." Brad looked confused and angry. His girlfriend was supposed to be in control of this situation, but instead she was trapped by the new girl who looked like she could barely hurt a fly. "Let her go right now," Brad demanded, stepping toward Maya with his fists ready. Maya looked at Brad, then at Tyler and Megan, who were also moving closer. She realized that all four bullies were about to attack her at once. Maya knew that this moment would change everything. She could let Ashley go and try to run away. But then these bullies would never leave her alone. They would make her life miserable for as long as she stayed at Lincoln High School. Or Maya could show them who she really was. Maya made her choice. She looked directly at Ashley, who was still trying to pull her wrist free. "I gave you plenty of chances to walk away," Maya said in the same quiet voice she had used all along. "You chose to try to hit me instead. Now you get to see what happens when you pick on the wrong person." Ashley's face went white as she realized that something was very wrong. This quiet new girl was not acting like a victim anymore. There was something dangerous in Maya's calm expression, something that made Ashley's stomach feel cold with fear. Maya released Ashley's wrist suddenly, but instead of backing away, she moved into a stance that only a few students in the crowd recognized. Her feet were positioned perfectly for balance. Her hands were relaxed but ready, and her whole body looked like a coiled spring ready to explode into action. "What are you doing?" Ashley asked, her voice shaking for the first time. Maya smiled, slightly, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "I'm giving you one last chance to walk away, all four of you. Turn around and leave, and we can pretend this never happened." Brad laughed, but it sounded forced and nervous. "You think you can take on all four of us? You're crazy." Maya's smile disappeared and her expression became completely serious. "I tried to warn you," she said quietly. That's when Brad made the biggest mistake of his life. He threw a punch directly at Maya's face, putting all of his weight and anger behind it. The crowd gasped and Kevin screamed Maya's name, but Maya was ready. Brad's fist flew toward Maya's face with all the force he could put behind it. He was bigger and stronger than Maya, and he expected his punch to knock her down hard. The watching students gasped, and some covered their eyes, not wanting to see the new girl get hurt. But Maya was not there when Brad's fist arrived. In one smooth movement, Maya stepped to the side and grabbed Brad's arm as it went past her face. She used his own forward motion against him, pulling him further in the direction he was already moving. Brad stumbled forward, off balance and confused about what had just happened. Before he could recover, Maya placed her other hand on Brad's back and pushed down while pulling his arm up. Brad flipped completely over and crashed onto his back on the cafeteria floor. The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed through the silent room. The crowd of students couldn't believe what they had just seen. Brad Collins, the toughest guy in school, was lying on the floor groaning in pain. He tried to sit up, but the wind had been knocked out of him and he could barely breathe. Maya stood calmly over him, not even breathing hard. She looked down at Brad with the same quiet expression she had worn all along. "I told you to walk away," she said softly. Ashley screamed in anger and shock. "What did you do to him? How did you do that?" Tyler stepped forward, his face red with rage. "Nobody does that to my friend," he yelled. He ran at Maya from behind, trying to grab her around the waist to tackle her to the ground. Maya heard Tyler's footsteps and spun around just as he reached her. She grabbed his shirt with both hands and sat down quickly, putting her foot against his stomach. As she fell backward, she pushed with her foot and pulled with her hands, sending Tyler flying over her head. Tyler crashed into a nearby table, scattering lunch trays and food everywhere. He slid off the table and onto the floor, holding his back and moaning in pain. The students who had been sitting at that table jumped up and backed away, their eyes wide with amazement. Maya rolled backward and came up standing, her balance perfect and her movements flowing like water. She looked at Tyler, who was struggling to get up from the mess of spilled food and broken plates. "Two down," Maya said quietly, but her voice carried clearly through the silent cafeteria. Megan and Ashley looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They had never seen anything like this before. The quiet new girl had just defeated the two strongest boys in their group without breaking a sweat. But they were too angry and too proud to back down now. "Get her!" Ashley screamed at Megan. "Both of us together." Megan threw her gum on the floor and ran at Maya from the left side while Ashley attacked from the right. They thought that if they both attacked at the same time, Maya wouldn't be able to stop both of them. They were wrong. Maya waited until both girls were close enough, then she dropped low and swept her leg in a wide circle. Both Megan and Ashley tripped over Maya's leg and fell hard to the floor. Before they could get up, Maya was standing over them. Ashley tried to grab Maya's ankle to pull her down, but Maya stepped back and caught Ashley's wrist again. This time, Maya twisted Ashley's arm behind her back and pushed her face down onto the floor. "Stay down," Maya said firmly. Megan tried to stand up, but Maya placed her foot gently but firmly on Megan's back, keeping her on the ground next to Ashley. "You too," Maya said to Megan. The entire cafeteria was silent except for the groaning sounds from the four bullies on the floor. Every student was staring at Maya with their mouths open. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. Maya looked around at all the shocked faces watching her. She saw Kevin sitting at their table with his eyes wide and his mouth hanging open. She saw students holding their phones, some still recording everything that had happened. Brad finally managed to sit up, coughing and trying to catch his breath. He looked at Maya with fear and confusion in his eyes. "Who are you?" he asked in a shaky voice. Maya released Ashley and Megan and stepped back. Both girls stayed on the floor, too scared and hurt to try to attack her again. Maya looked at all four bullies lying on the cafeteria floor. "I'm just a military kid who moves around a lot," Maya said in her quiet voice. "But I'm also someone who has been trained to defend herself since she was 5 years old." The crowd of students started whispering excitedly to each other. Some of them were saying things like, "Did you see how fast she moved?" And, "She took down all four of them like it was nothing." Tyler was still lying next to the overturned table holding his ribs. "This isn't over," he said through gritted teeth. Maya walked over to where Tyler was lying and knelt down next to him. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but everyone in the cafeteria could hear every word. "Yes, it is over," Maya said calmly. "You four picked on the wrong person today. I tried to avoid this fight, but you wouldn't listen. Now you know what happens when you try to bully someone who can fight back." Maya stood up and looked at each of the four bullies. "I don't want to hurt any of you, but I will defend myself if I have to. Leave me alone. Leave Kevin alone, and leave all the other students alone. Find something better to do with your time." Ashley finally got up from the floor, her face red with embarrassment and anger. Her perfect hair was messy and her expensive clothes were dirty. "This isn't over," she said, but her voice was shaking. Maya looked directly at Ashley. "Yes, it is. Unless you want to end up on the floor again." Ashley opened her mouth to say something else, but then she looked around at all the students watching her. Everyone had seen her get defeated by the quiet new girl. Her reputation as the toughest girl in school was completely destroyed. Brad struggled to his feet, still holding his back where he had hit the floor. He looked at Maya with a mixture of fear and respect. "How did you learn to fight like that?" he asked. "My father is in the military," Maya explained. "He taught me that sometimes you have to stand up to bullies, but you should always try to avoid fighting if possible. I tried to avoid this, but you four wouldn't let me." Megan was still sitting on the floor, looking dazed and confused. "I don't understand," she said weakly. "You're just a quiet little girl." Maya smiled slightly. "Sometimes quiet people are the most dangerous ones. You should remember that next time you think about picking on someone." Just then, Mr. Johnson, the math teacher, pushed through the crowd of students. He looked at the mess in the cafeteria and the 4 bullies on the floor, then at Maya standing calmly in the middle of it all. "What happened here?" Mr. Johnson demanded. Before Maya could answer, Kevin stood up from their table. "They attacked Maya first," he said loudly. "All 4 of them surrounded her, and Ashley tried to slap her. Maya was just defending herself." Several other students nodded and started talking, at once all of them agreeing with Kevin's story. Many of them had their phones out showing the recordings they had made of the entire fight. Mr. Johnson looked at the videos on the students' phones, then looked at Maya. "Is this true? Did they attack you first?" Maya nodded. "I tried to avoid fighting, but they wouldn't leave me alone. I only did what I had to do to protect myself." Mr. Johnson looked at Brad, Ashley, Tyler, and Megan, who were all still recovering from their defeat. "Is this how you 4 want to represent Lincoln High School? Attacking a new student 4 against 1? None of the bullies answered. They were too embarrassed and too hurt to say anything. Maya picked up her backpack from the table where she had been sitting with Kevin. "Can I go now?" she asked Mr. Johnson. "I need to get to my next class." Mr. Johnson nodded slowly, still trying to understand what had happened. "Yes, you can go, but I'll need to talk to all of you in the principal's office later." Maya walked toward the cafeteria exit, and the crowd of students moved aside to let her pass. As she walked by, she could hear them whispering about what they had just seen. Kevin grabbed his backpack and hurried to catch up with Maya. When he reached her side, he looked at her with amazement and a little bit of fear. "Maya," Kevin said quietly, "who are you really?" Maya and Kevin walked quietly down the hallway toward their next class. Other students stared at Maya as she passed by, whispering to their friends about what had just happened in the cafeteria. Some looked at her with respect, others with curiosity, and a few with fear. "Maya," Kevin said again, "how did you do that? I've never seen anything like it." Maya looked at Kevin and saw that he wasn't scared of her, just amazed. She decided she could trust him with the truth. "I've been training in martial arts since I was 5 years old," she said quietly. "My father taught me that I needed to know how to protect myself." "Your father taught you?" Kevin asked with wide eyes. "Is he like a martial arts teacher or something?" "Not exactly," Maya replied. "He's a colonel in the army. He learned to fight when he was in the military, and he taught me everything he knows." Kevin stopped walking and stared at Maya. "Your dad is a colonel? That's like a really high rank, right?" Maya nodded. "Yes, it is. That's why we move around so much. The army sends him to different places, and our whole family has to go with him." They reached their science class and sat down in the back row. Ms. Garcia was writing something on the board, but Kevin couldn't concentrate on the lesson. He kept looking at Maya and thinking about what he had witnessed in the cafeteria. "Have you ever had to fight like that before?" Kevin whispered. Maya nodded sadly. "At almost every school I've been to. There are always bullies who think they can pick on the quiet new kid. I try to avoid fighting, but sometimes it's the only way to make them stop." "Why don't you just tell the teachers or the principal?" Kevin asked. "I do tell them," Maya said, "but bullies are usually smart about when and where they bother people. They wait until no adults are around, and even when teachers try to help, the bullies just wait and try again later." Ms. Garcia looked in their direction, so Maya and Kevin stopped whispering and pretended to pay attention to the science lesson, but Kevin's mind was full of questions about his new friend. After science class, Maya and Kevin walked toward the principal's office. Mr. Johnson had told them that Principal Roberts wanted to talk to everyone who was involved in the cafeteria incident. "Are you worried about getting in trouble?" Kevin asked. Maya shook her head. "Not really. I know I was defending myself, and lots of students recorded what happened. The videos will show that Brad and Ashley started the fight. When they reached the principal's office, they saw Brad, Ashley, Tyler, and Megan sitting in chairs outside the door. All four of them looked embarrassed and angry. Brad had an ice pack on his back, and Tyler was holding his ribs. Ashley glared at Maya when she walked by, but she didn't say anything. Maya could tell that Ashley was still shocked about what had happened. The girl who used to think she was the toughest person in school had been defeated by someone she thought was weak. Principal Roberts called Maya into his office first. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked tired, like he dealt with problems like this every day. "Maya Rodriguez," Principal Roberts said, looking at a file on his desk. "I've been reading about you. This is your 7th school in 4 years." "Yes, sir," Maya replied. "My father gets transferred a lot because of his job." "And what job is that?" the principal asked. "He's a colonel in the Army," Maya said. Principal Roberts raised his eyebrows. "A colonel? That's impressive. And I understand he taught you how to fight?" "Yes, sir, he taught me martial arts for self-defense," Maya explained. "He said that since we move around so much, I needed to know how to protect myself if I ever got into trouble." The principal picked up his phone and called someone. "Hello, is this Colonel Rodriguez? This is Principal Roberts from Lincoln High School. I have your daughter Maya in my office, and I need to discuss what happened today." Maya could hear her father's voice through the phone, but she couldn't make out the words. Principal Roberts listened for a few minutes, then hung up. "Your father is coming to school right now," the principal said. "He wants to make sure you're okay, and he wants to explain your situation to me." 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the office door. Maya's father walked in wearing his Army uniform. Colonel Rodriguez was tall and strong, with short, black hair and serious eyes. When he saw Maya, his face softened with relief. "Are you hurt, mija?" he asked, using the Spanish word for my daughter. "I'm fine, Dad," Maya replied. "I didn't get hurt at all." Colonel Rodriguez turned to Principal Roberts and shook his hand. "Thank you for calling me, sir. I hope Maya didn't cause too much trouble." "Actually, from what I can see on these videos, your daughter was defending herself against 4 bullies," Principal Roberts said, showing the colonel some of the recordings that students had given him. She showed remarkable restraint and skill. Colonel Rodriguez watched the videos with a proud but serious expression. "Maya has been training since she was very young," he explained to the principal. "We've moved to many different places, and unfortunately there are bullies at almost every school. I taught her to avoid fighting whenever possible, but to defend herself when necessary." "What kind of training has she had?" Principal Roberts asked. "Karate, judo, boxing, and some other martial arts," the colonel replied. "I learned these skills during my military service, and I passed them on to Maya. She's also trained with professional instructors at some of the bases where we've been stationed." Principal Roberts looked impressed. "I can see why she was able to handle 4 attackers so easily. Maya has always been taught to use her skills responsibly," Colonel Rodriguez continued. "She knows that fighting should be the last option, not the first one." The principal nodded. "Based on the videos and the witness statements, it's clear that Maya was defending herself. The 4 students who attacked her will be suspended for 3 days. Maya will not be punished." After they left the principal's office, Maya and her father walked to the parking lot together. Other students watched them go by, especially when they saw Colonel Rodriguez's uniform and rank insignia. "I'm proud of you, mija," her father said, when they reached his car. "You tried to avoid the fight, but when you had no choice, you protected yourself without seriously hurting anyone." "I didn't want to fight them, Dad," Maya said. "I just wanted to eat lunch and make friends." "I know," Colonel Rodriguez replied. "But sometimes people like those 4 bullies only understand one kind of language. You spoke to them in a way they could understand. The next day at school, everything was different for Maya. The story of her fight with the 4 bullies had spread throughout Lincoln High School. Everyone knew that the quiet new girl was actually a skilled fighter who could take care of herself. But Maya noticed something else that was different. Students who had been picked on by Brad, Ashley, Tyler, and Megan were walking taller and smiling more. The 4 bullies were back at school after their suspension, but they avoided Maya completely. More importantly, they had stopped bothering other students too. During lunch, Maya sat with Kevin at their usual table. But this time, they weren't alone. 3 other students had asked if they could join them. One was a shy girl named Lisa who said that Ashley used to make fun of her clothes. Another was a boy named Carlos who had been pushed around by Brad and Tyler. "Thank you for standing up to them," Lisa said quietly. "They've been mean to me for 2 years, but they haven't said anything to me since the fight." "You don't need to thank me," Maya replied. "I was just defending myself." "But you showed everyone that bullies can be stopped," Carlos added. "Now they know they can't just pick on whoever they want." Kevin smiled at Maya. "You're like a superhero, or something?" Maya laughed. "I'm not a superhero, I'm just a girl who learned how to fight. But maybe I can teach other people how to defend themselves too." "Really?" Lisa asked with excitement. "You would teach us?" "If the school lets me start a self-defense club, I'd be happy to teach anyone who wants to learn," Maya said. Principal Roberts approved Maya's self-defense club the following week. On the first day, 15 students showed up to learn from Maya. By the end of the month, there were 30 students in the club. Maya taught them basic moves to protect themselves, but more importantly, she taught them confidence. She showed them that they didn't have to be afraid of bullies and that sometimes the best way to avoid a fight was to look like you could win one. Brad, Ashley, Tyler, and Megan never bothered Maya or any other students again. They learned that being mean to people was not the way to be popular or respected. Some of the students they had bullied even forgave them and became friends with them later. Maya finally felt like she belonged at Lincoln High School. She had found real friends who liked her for who she was, not because they were afraid of her. And for the first time in years, Maya hoped that her father wouldn't get transferred to another base anytime soon. She had found a place where she could be herself, help other people, and maybe stay long enough to graduate with friends who really knew her. Maya Rodriguez had learned that sometimes the best way to find peace was to be ready for war, but to choose peace whenever possible.